In the Thruxton circuit, it is absolutely pouring out here, but we're here come rain or shine, mostly rain this weekend, for some more motor racing. We've got a fantastic weekend of action for you to come. 3 events on the way today. We've got the trucks, we've also got the classic touring cars. They're coming up first up in the programme. They've been out qualifying already. It is wet, it is slick, it is almost impossible to drive in, which means for us it's hugely entertaining. I spoke to the drivers though to get their perspective on what should be a wet and wild weekend. Matthew Ellis on pole in the class in touring cars. Pretty good drive from you out there. I'm glad you're dry now. It's pretty damp, safe to say.
It's certainly not a dry day here, is it? I mean, when we're queuing up to go out, it was raining. Now it's just absolutely torrential during the session, but it's all good fun. Enjoyed it a lot.
And of course you're on pole as well, so you must have done something right out there. Talk us through the ride.
It's a little bit of a surprise. I mean, we come here, not driven here in the wet. We did our first ever wet race last weekend at Castle Combe. To be fair, we kind of struggled there actually with the tyres we got and the conditions. Come here sort of open-minded, and yeah, it's just like on rails the car. You can't unsettle the thing out there, so very happy with that.
Well, you let us into a bit of a trade secret just before we came on air here. You're actually on road tyres rather than what we'd call competition wets.
Yeah, so usually a series we run in has regulations. We're not allowed competition slicks or wets, so we're running a road listed tyre, which I think, given the conditions, actually clearing the water out of the tread pattern a lot better than the race competition stuff all the other guys are on. So pro rata, we've had a bit of a touch here. Otherwise, we would have been right out of luck.
And we'll bring in senior Ellis here, Martin and father-son duo. What's it like to ride with your son? I'm guessing you've been doing this a little while.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, if only he could get a proper drive from someone, he could prove himself big time. But yeah, it just means I have to start and I'm a slower driver. But no, the problem for me is it's steamed up badly. But yeah, the traction was good, and I mean the car's prepared by Phil Seaman of Seaman Motorsport, and he does a perfect job, and sponsored by Point CNC, Clive Leatherby. So in all, yeah, the car's going very well, and hopefully we're going to have a good race.
And in terms of Thruxton as a track, you've been here a few times. What are your thoughts?
Came here in the summer with Future Classics. I love it. I really do like Thruxton. Yeah, and I was happy out there, but I actually could not physically see because the screen's steamed up. So yeah, we're looking forward to the race. It's going to be a good week.
Bit of gaff around the windscreen and go again for the race one?
Well, yeah. I've just got to try and come back in a sensible position for Matthew on race 2 to start, not at the back. That's what we hope.
Well, that sounds good, gents. Look, best of luck for the race, guys, and yeah, we hope you stay dry before then.
Brilliant, thank you.
Here with a couple of our drivers. Malcolm, first of all, it is very, very wet. How did qualifying go for you?
Well, it's slippery. We had a throttle cable stick on the way out, but we didn't think we was going to get out, but then we got out and everything seemed alright. It all come together really in the end. We ended up with 7th, but we'd lost a couple of laps, but we ended up with 7th, so we qualified 7th. So
reasonably
happy
happy
with that for now. Yeah, very happy with that for now.
And in terms of Thruxton as a track, it's obviously very familiar to a lot of drivers. It's not usually this wet, but what do you make of the circuit?
It's good, to be fair. I've been racing 30 years and probably the second time I've raced it, so yeah, it's really good.
So
I
nice to
quite
be
enjoy
here.
it. Yeah, very good. That's why I jumped at doing it again, really.
Well, excellent to have you along.
Despite being wet, it's turned out to be alright, really.
Well, excellent to have you along. Wish you the best of luck in the race. We've got Tony Paxman here as well. Didn't think we'd trouble you to get out your seat there, Tony, but you're very kind. Got your hat on. How's the qualifying for
Very
you?
wet.
Yes.
Got ponds everywhere out there.
What's it like to actually drive in? Can you try and describe it for us?
The wipers aren't fast enough. The car's 50 years old and the wipers aren't fast enough. And it just can't. Well, it'll be alright if it stopped raining. But we'll see.
So these cars these are as manual as they could possibly be, right?
Yes,
It's all down to what you can do as a driver.
Exactly.
And in terms of what you're expecting from the weekend, what are you hoping for?
If it stops raining, it'll be better, but you just can't see where you're going.
Well, that's always a start, I find.
It's life.
Well, Tony, best of luck for the weekend.
Yes, thank you.
Well, down in the paddock with Mike Luck. Mike, 11th overall in qualifying. It's very, very wet, as it is for everyone. How are you finding it out there, first of all?
Yeah, well, as you say, it was a lot of standing water, and we put some full wets on, which I don't think really helped us much. They just couldn't shift the water. So I think sort of narrower, almost road-going tyres are the order of the day. So that's what we'll try for the race.
And talk us through your car, because just from standing next to it here, it's a real beauty. How long have you been driving it? Tell us a bit more about it.
Okay, well, this is actually a car that I had a business a few years ago, and I built the car for a client, E21 320 with a little M10 4-cylinder engine. and the guy very kindly sort of allowed me to use it. So we've been racing it in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club series for pre-83 cars. Very pleased to say I actually won the championship this year with it. Yeah, it's a lovely thing, and we do battle with escorts and dolomites and the like, and it goes well.
Is it an enjoyable thing to drive in conditions like this still?
Yeah, it's
enjoyable might not be the operative word.
Enjoyable is yeah, it's I suppose it's a challenge, just like any other race or event or speed event. You know, it's about taking it to a limit and doing your level best not to overstep it. You know.
Yeah, I suppose that was the question I wanted to ask. Really, is that a challenge that you like to have? Do you like taking risks and challenging it in new conditions?
Well, yeah, I suppose it's about managing risks. Motorsport in general, I tend to enjoy racing in the wet. Today, apart from the pure amount of water, the other challenge for me is actually knowing this. I don't know the circuit that well. I haven't raced around here very much, so when the visibility is fairly poor, then it's the main challenge is knowing exactly where the circuit goes. But
we didn't think at the start of the week that the most important component of this car would be the windscreen wiper, but here we are.
No, that's right.
Well, Mike, we wish you the very best of luck for the racing and stay dry in the meantime.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, race fans, and welcome once again to Thruxton Race Circuit, the fastest racing circuit in the UK here in Hampshire. Hopefully getting underway very shortly with this afternoon's race action presented by the BARC, the British Automobile Racing Club. A delayed start due to the weather and a bit of spilt diesel from the trucks. Full credit to the marshals who've cleared the standing water off the circuit, and we'll hopefully be getting underway very shortly. Dave Goddard here to take you through the action. The schedule reads as follows. We'll be getting underway very shortly with the first of our two races for the Classic Touring Car Racing Club, open non-championship races for them today, followed by the first race for the Tiedemann Trophy for the Monoposto Racing Club, a variety of single-seaters in action in that series. And then it's the big rigs, the BTRA Truck Racing Championship, sponsored by Lenham Storage and GT Tyres, and then the races repeat themselves throughout the afternoon. The Classic Touring Cars' second race, the Tiedemann Trophy, and the trucks out again for the second of their 5 races this weekend. 3 truck races tomorrow as well, and a couple of races for open sports and saloon cars too. Our thanks to our sponsors for the trucks this weekend, GT Tyres, Vision Track and Lenham Storage, who have a site just outside the Thruxton circuit, specialises in the storage and distribution of groceries. So some of your products you buy from the supermarkets may well have been transported by Lenham Storage at some point on their HGVs. Getting ready to get underway then. Thanks to everybody who has tuned in so far today. The first race of the afternoon will be the delayed race we should have seen this morning, the Classic Touring Car Racing Club's open races here this weekend. We have 21 cars in total, so let's give you the grid for our first race of the day. In pole position will be Martin Ellis with his beautiful Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Alongside him, Andy Thompson with a Seat Leon. Second row, Ian Knight in his Volkswagen Golf, and David Griffin, this year's Pre-93 Touring Car Champion, with the first of the BMWs. The third row, Tom Robinson with his big Jaguar XJR, and Yusuf Osman with his BMW. Fourth row, Malcolm Harding in an Escort Mark II, and a BMW for Brian Branson. The fifth row, Rod Burley, one of Britain's most successful national level racers, starts alongside Bob Bullen. The sixth row, Mike Luck, this year's Pre-83 Group 1 Touring Car Champion. And alongside him, his BMW will be Tony Paxman with his Ford Escort Mark 1. The seventh row, Eddie O'Kane with his Hyundai Coupe, and Stuart Kay with a Ford Capri. The eighth row, Alex Thistlethwaite, he's in a Ford Mustang. Tom Abbott with a Ford Capri. And the next row, row 9, Trevor Kiffin with his Alfa Romeo 75, and Alan Hersey with the Reliant Scimitar. The penultimate row, Richard Ibrahim with the BMW, and Anton Martin with his Ford Escort. And at the back of the field, the classic Ford Lotus Cortina of number 2, Tony Palmer. 21 cars out there for a 20-minute race. Coming up next then, the cars are just leaving the assembly area. There is Tony Palmer with his lovely Lotus Cortina. He will start from the back, so the cars are on their way up to the grid then. Let's take an exploratory lap or two. Well, here they come round to the grid, and as we say, do get in touch via social media or a comment on our live stream on Facebook and YouTube if you do want to get in touch with us here today. There are one or two messages come in already, which we will bring to you as and when we can. Cars on their way to the grid. There's Stuart Kay's Ford Capri. There's the Volkswagen Golf of Ian Knight, and behind him the Diet Coke liveried BMW of the Australian driver David Griffin. Ian Knight's the head of race car transporters. There's that lovely Talbot Sunbeam Lotus, the wide-arched Escort as well of Malcolm Harding, a lovely variety of saloon cars. Rod Burley at the wheel of his well-known Ford Escort Cosworth, very modified machine. That one, he's taken hundreds of race wins literally with that car over the years. Alex Thistlethwaite in the Ford Mustang. Tom Abbott with his Labatt's lookalike Capri. The pace car heading them down the back of the circuit. Looking at the grid for this one, it looks like Andy Thompson may not be there with the Seat. I thought we were missing somebody, so I don't think Andy Thompson's Seat Leon is there, which would mean Martin Ellis will be on his own on the front row as the sun starts to burn through the rain clouds here at Thruxton. We had a nice rainbow out earlier on, so thanks to those of you who've stuck with us for the start of our live racing from here at Thruxton today. Bob Bullen in his Lotus Cortina there, number 1. He was originally down to race a Ford Anglia today on the entry list, but he's out in his Lotus Cortina instead. Eddie O'Kane, owner of YourIrishShop.com, supplier of Irish food and drink, in the Hyundai Coupe, ahead of Stuart Kay in the Capri. Alex Thistlethwaite in the Mustang. What a beautiful car that is. Be a handful in the wet, certainly. It looks as though we are unfortunately missing the Seat of Andy Thompson, so he may have had a problem in qualifying. Yeah, he only did 5 laps, everybody else did 9 or 10, looking at the timing sheet. Mike Luck, the Pre-83 Group 1 Touring Car Champion with the orange BMW. Tony Paxman with his familiar Mark 1 Escort, been racing that car for many years. There's Trevor Kiffin with the Alfa Romeo 75. Alan Hersey with his Reliance Scimitar. Behind him, the BMW of Richard Ibrahim. At the back of the field, we'll have Anton Martin with the Mark III Ford Escort and Tony Palmer's Lotus Cortina. So they come into line on the grid then. Circuit just beginning to dry out. Full credit once again to the efforts of the marshals to clear any standing water off the circuit. That's why we took the lunch break early and why there's a delay to the start of our racing. So 20 cars out there for 20 minutes of racing. 2 races for the classic touring cars today. Their championships are over and done with. They've all been sealed. We've got 2 of the champions here today, David Griffin and Mike Luck. This is a non-points open race day for club members. And a lovely variety of cars they have assembled for us. Everything from the 60s Cortinas and the Mustang up to much more modern day machines. So they're almost all into position then. Now whether they'll get an extra green flag lap, we're just going to wait and see. I think they will, given the conditions. Still got marshals on the grid at the moment. Anton Martin, the Mark III Escort, lines up. The 30-second board is held out, so I think we're going to get an additional green flag lap before the race gets underway. Gives you a chance to read out the couple of messages we've had come in during the lunch break. Yep, green flag waves, so they're going to take an additional installation lap. Martin Ellis struggling to get going in the Talbot there. So it's the final warming up lap before the race gets underway. They head up towards the right-hander at Allard Corner. Then it's up towards the complex. You can see the sun starting to come out now. It's very, very slippery out there on this very abrasive circuit. Up towards the complex, the right-hander at Campbell, the left at Cobb, the right at Seagrave, all named after British land speed record holders, of course. Out of the complex, it's out into the country. See the airfield buildings there on the centre of the circuit, including the local air ambulance based here at Thruxton. It's through towards Noble and Goodwood. There's Yusuf Osman with his E30 BMW, very smart looking car, that one. Cars have got a little bit out of grid order here on this final warming up lap. There's the car to watch, Rod Burley with the Escort Cosworth, winner of over 600 races in his illustrious career. Recently broke the record of the legendary Jerry Marshall. Cars head out of the ultra-fast Church Corner onto Woodham Hill, climbing up towards the slowest part of the lap at the club chicane. There's Tom Robinson with his awesome Jaguar XJR, super sounding car that one is. Just moving back into grid order here. The marshals will bring them to a stop on the grid. Where's Martin Ellis, our poleman? He struggled away on this green flag lap. He's now going to retake his pole position slot. Bit of a sudden stop there for Malcolm Harding in the Zac Speed Escorts. Beautiful looking car that is. Marshals with the yellow flags at the front of the grid to get them into line. A couple of messages that have just come in. Hello to John and Chris watching in Hesketh Bank in Lancashire. Hello to you. And Claire Allen says, good luck all the classic touring cars. Shame my son Tom Harvey didn't make this one. Was booked in to race his Mark 1 Escorts. Yeah, they've got a bit out of grid order here on that additional installation lap. So Ian Knight gets the Mark 2 Golf into line. There's David Griffin, the BMW. Another BMW there, Brian Branson. But Rod Burley, I reckon, is going to be the one to watch here. Unusual to see him qualify as low as 9th. So just one car that we're missing. No Andy Thompson on the front row of the grid with the Seat Leon. He was out in qualifying. Okay, they're just about into line then for race number 1 of this weekend here at Thruxton. Green flag is waved by the marshal at the back. All clear is given. 5-second board is held aloft, waiting for the red lights to come on. They do so. When they go out, we will be underway. Lights out, and we are underway and racing. One car hasn't got away. Brian Bransom's BMW. Tony Paxman just dodges him, but it looks like the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus has made the best stars. They head up towards Allard for the first time. Headlights ablaze. It's David Griffin coming through from the second row. Griffin leads as they head up towards the complex for the first time. They'll be under braking for Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave, and it's the pre-93 touring car champion Dave Griffin who's got the lead into the complex. Martin Ellis in the Talbot is in second place. Third is Tom Robinson. He's got away well in the big Jaguar, and it looks like Rod Burley already from 9th on the grid is up into 4th place as they head out into the country for the first time. Robinson using the power of the Jag gets up alongside the Talbot. Plenty of battling further back. Brian Branson recovering after almost stalling on the grid there. But Rod Burley looking determined there, chasing down Martin Ellis for 3rd place in the Talbot. Then we've got Ian Knight in the Golf, Yusuf Osman and Malcolm Harding next in the order as they head round the back of the circuit towards the ultra-fast Church Corner. But David Griffin already clearing off in front in the Diet Coke BMW. He's had several wins this year with that car in the pre-93 Touring Car Championship. Leaders head up towards Woodham Hill then. It's Griffin who leads the way in the Diet Coke car. Second place is Tom Robinson using the power of the Jag. Here comes Rod Burley side by side with Martin Ellis. Goes through into 3rd place up Woodham Hill towards the club chicane. Burley will soon be tracking the leaders, I'm sure. And we've got Ian Knight, Malcolm Harding, Yusuf Osman. That's Brian Branson. He's recovered well next in the order ahead of Tony Paxman with the Mark 1 Escort. You can see just how wet it is there at the club chicane. Mike Luck is next in the order, then Eddie O'Kane, the owner of O'Kane Irish Foods in the Hyundai Coupe, one of the newest cars on the grid. But it's Griffin who leads the opening lap. Not sure why Tony Palmer's appeared at the top of the times there. There's some sort of error with the timing there, I think. So a bit of confusion on the transponders at the moment. Probably some rain's got into the system. But it is David Griffin who leads. Tom Robinson in that huge Jaguar, recent winner last week at Castle Combe. He gets a big twitch there, coming out of the right-hander at Seagrave. Rod Burley in third place. Then the challenge on from Ian Knight on the back of Martin Ellis in the Talbot. They head out towards Noble, then up to Goodwood Corner, out in the country. Tom Robinson in second place in that awesome sounding Jaguar XJR6. Going towards Church Corner then, this long right-hander. Then the next group is Ellis, Knight, Bransom, Malcolm Harding challenging Brian Bransom, goes through on the inside. He's going past Ian Knight. Well, look at the 101 car there of Malcolm Harding. He's flying along and he goes past Ellis as well. Goodness me, Malcolm Harding is going like a steam train in that Zack Speed Escort. Brian Bransom gets past Ian Knight as well. They're swapping places like there's no tomorrow, coming through towards the club chicane this time. Bransom side by side with Ellis on the run up Woodham Hill. He makes up another place, recovering after faltering at the start. Apologies that the timing's all over the place, which is affecting our graphics. There's Yusuf Osman going through, but it is still the BMW of David Griffin up front ahead of Tom Robinson. Then it is Rod Burley. Right, the reason for the confusion on the timing I've just worked out is that the CTCRC running this as a handicap race. So drivers have been given credit laps. We weren't informed of the number of credit laps when the grid sheet was issued. So I'm going to try and pick that up as the race goes on. They weren't given on the initial grid sheet. So on handicap, your race leader given on the graphics as Tony Palmer. We concentrate on the positions on scratch at the moment. So Tony Palmer has been given credit laps because its cars are very different performance in this race. It's being run as a handicap race. So on handicap, it's Tony Palmer leading. The 41 car in second of Richard Ibrahim with his BMW, and Anton Martin in third in the Escort. But on scratch, David Griffin is being chased down for the lead by Tom Robinson in the Jaguar. Further back in the order there is Yusuf Osman. There's a lot of his racing down at Liddon Hill in Kent. There's Tony Palmer. He's at the back on track in the Lotus Cortina, but he's leading on handicap. That's the reason for a bit of confusion on my part in the early stages there, so our apologies there. Tony Paxman now ahead of Yusuf Osman. Then Ian Knight in the Golf, who's dropped back somewhat. Eddie O'Kane through next in the Hyundai. Challenge on for second place on track from Rod Burley. Here he comes up onto the back of Tom Robinson. And fourth in the order now, Brian Bransom and Malcolm Harding. They've got the best setup, I think, for these wet conditions. They have flown through the order. The fastest lap by anyone was recorded by Rod Burley, though, 1:36.364 last time around. Handicap leader is still Tony Palmer in the Lotus Cortina as Burley tries to challenge again on the back of Tom Robinson for second place on the road. We've got 14 minutes of this race to go. Here comes Rod Burley then, and Robinson closing up on the leader as well. It's still Dave Griffin who leads on the road. Burley goes through into second place at the inside, into the club chicane. Very easy to go off here over the curbs or straight line it, but they've all kept it on the island so far. Tom Robinson down to third in the beautiful big Jaguar. Didn't see many XJR6s of that generation, and look at the way Brian Bransom is going in his BMW. He's just done the fastest lap of the race, 1:32.790. Down the order, that's more than 3 seconds quicker than anybody else has managed in this race so far. Bransom is flying. Now the leaders on the road are coming up to lap the leader on handicap here. There is Tony Palmer with the Ford Lotus Cortina. He's going to be lapped by the leader on scratch. He's going to lap the leader on handicap, but Rod Burley I think is challenging here to try and take the lead away. There's Palmer, races in the pre-66 touring car category with his Lotus Cortina, but Rod Burley is going to take the lead on the road. I didn't think it'd be long before he caught David Griffin. Rod Burley has won so more races than I can remember in this Escort Cosworth over the years. He's going to the inside as they go towards Church Corner. The superior traction of the Escort tells, and he goes through. Catch them as they come into the club chicane. There's the number 41 of Richard Ibrahim. He's currently running 10th on handicap. Burley's got the lead now as they head out of Church. Side by side for second, the two BMWs. Look at the way Brian Branson is going. He's absolutely flying up the order. This is great stuff. Rod Burley using the advantage of four-wheel drive, of course, with the Escort Cosworth WRC, as he calls it. Brian Branson is really giving chase here. There's another BMW. That is Mike Luck, the pre-83 Group 1 touring car champion. Just had a message come in from Alan Wayman, regular in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. He says, my old Chevy Camaro would have been off on the first lap. So your leader on handicap is still Tony Palmer. Here come the leaders on scratch. Branson closing down our race lead. Let's have a look at the lap times. Rod Burley's last lap was a 1:36.5. Brian Branson, let's find his lap time. It was a 1:34.1. So he is closing up. There is the BMW. It's Palmer who leads on handicap ahead of Tom Abbott in the Ford Capri. Burley is third on handicap, so trying to close up on times. Tony Paxman fourth in the handicap standings, and then it's Eddie O'Kane. Here comes Brian Branson up onto the tail of Rod Burley. This is impressive. The four-wheel drive Escort, the rear-wheel drive BMW. Up Woodham Hill they come. They're coming up to lap Trevor Kiffin in the Alfa Romeo 75. Here's the battle further back, David Griffin and Tom Robinson. Malcolm Harding closing on them as well in the 101. He'll be racing at Mallory Park tomorrow with the Special Saloons in his Escort. Now, Brian Branson has met the Alfa Romeo there, the lap traffic, at the worst possible place at the club chicane. That's delayed him a bit. He couldn't get through there. Now, is everybody still running? We've got one car in the pits. Ian Knight has come in with the Golf. I saw that car dropping back. So fifth on the road. There goes Malcolm Harding. We're at half distance, just under 10 minutes to go. Griffin third on the road. Then it's Robinson, but it's now Rod Burley. You can see there on the graphic that has taken the lead on handicap. So Rod Burley leads on the road and on handicap as well. It's coming up on the other Lotus Cortina there. That is the number 1 of Bob Bullen. Used to race his Ford Anglia for many years. Was entered with an Anglia this weekend, but out in his Lotus Cortina instead. There is Rod Burley, so he's the leader on the road and on handicap now. Winner of hundreds of races in his career. He's raced on the short ovals, in hot rods as well, very successfully. Raced in a Honda Integra at his local circuit of Brands Hatch in recent times. He had a major engine failure with the Escort earlier this year. He's rebuilt it. You got a glimpse there of the Triplex Capri driven by Stuart Kay, the club chairman. Now looking at Brian Branson's car there, did I see his bonnet starting to come loose? I thought I saw the back edge of the bonnet might be starting to come loose. There's the third place BMW, David Griffin. And in fact Palmer, having completed another lap, has got the lead back again on handicap. But on handicap it is close between Palmer and Burley. There's only 0.7 of a second between the two of them. There's Robinson. He's just lapped the Ibrahim BMW there, number 41. There's the Mark III Escort of Anton Martin. Where's he running on handicap? He was quite well up in the early stages. He's down the order now. So Rod Burley the leader on handicap at the moment, Ibrahim in second, and Anton Martin is third. They jump up and down the timing order every time they complete a lap with the handicap system being used. Handicap races used to be very common in UK club racing, but they're rarely seen now. And Brian Bransom, out of the complex, takes the lead on the road from Rod Burley. That's impressive from Brian Bransom. In the 26 car there, he's got the lead away from... Don't tell me Rod Burley's running into problems. Yeah, he's dropped right back there from the BMW, so whether Rod's got a problem, I don't know. But look at the bonnet of the BMW. The rear edge has lifted up there. Let's hope his bonnet's not going to come completely loose and obscure his vision. You can see it there as he passes Alex Thistlethwaite's Ford Mustang. It's right in the driver's eye line as well, that is Brian Bransom, but he's taken the lead from Burley on the road. We have to wait for drivers to come through to complete laps to determine who's leading the way on handicap. We'll have to confirm that later on. It's Bransom who leads on the road. 7 minutes to go. Across the line, the pit crew cheering him on from the pit wall. They're pleased to see Brian Bransom leading. And Rod Burley's into the pits. Rod Burley has pulled into the pit lane just out of our view there. He has got a problem. That's a great shame. So we lose Rod Burley. So second on the road will now be Tom Robinson in the Jaguar. There's the number 1 of Bob Bullen, the 77 Alan Hersey with the Reliant Scimitar. There goes Brian Bransom out of the complex, out into the country. There is, I think that's David Griffin now in second. So have we lost Robinson as well? I couldn't see the Jag in the background there, so David Griffin looks like he's now running in second on the road. And Rod Burley clearly had a problem there. He slowed quite dramatically and Brian Bransom came through. See the spray that the BMW is kicking up there as he comes through Church Corner. Up Woodham Hill comes the leader on the road. This is good stuff from Brian Bransom, the 26. He's raced this car in a variety of BMW events over the years. Coming up on Stuart Kate, Mr. Chairman, in his Ford Capri, triplex liveried car. He waves Brian Bransom through. Stuart Kay has raced the triplex Capri at a number of events, including at Goodwood over the years with the sports car hero Jochen Maas has raced that car with Stuart over the years. The triplex Capri raced in period by the legendary Jerry Marshall, one of the greatest ever saloon car racers. Brian Bransom now being shown as leading on handicap. We'll have to wait for everybody else's lap times to cycle through so before we can determine our handicap winner later on. One BMW laps another, the older car of Mike Luck there. Malcolm Harding continuing his good pace. Now, has he got ahead of David Griffin there on the road? We didn't see it, but I think he has. I think it's Harding up into second on the road now. Dave Nixon says, great drive by Bransom in the Beamer. Certainly is. There is David Griffin, aka Paul Morris, who won a couple of Australian titles in that liveried car. Now the timing screen showing currently that the handicap race leader is Tony Paxman in the blue Mark 1 Escorts. There's Malcolm Harding, so I think he's second on the road now in the Mark 2 Zaxpeed Escorts as they head up Woodham Hill. Then it's David Griffin, and then Tom Robinson. The Jaguar is still going in fourth place on the road. Malcolm Harding racing superb here. There's the big cat in fourth place. Screams its way almost sideways out of the club chicane. 3.5 minutes of this classic touring car handicap race to go. These four well clear of their opposition. Now, with it being a handicap race, as we say, we won't know who's won on handicap until everybody has taken the checkered flag. So we have to wait for everybody to come through before I can declare the results. Jaguar running a bit wide there, coming out of Seagrave. towards the curb. It's tricky enough to handle a big Jaguar saloon in the dry, never mind in conditions like this. Tom Robinson got some practice last weekend though at Castle Combe. He took 2 wins in the Jaguar Enthusiasts Club race series. He ran combined with another series at Castle Combe in Wiltshire. That's the only 2 retirements so far, Rod Burley and Ian Knight, who brought the Golf in early on. Your handicap leader, according to the timing screen, is Tony Paxman with the Escorts. Stuart Kay just waving the quicker opposition through there. Where is Stuart Kay on handicap? He's 8th in the Capri. There goes Dave Griffin over the line. Quickest lap of the race recorded by Brian Branson, not surprisingly, 1:32.79. As we see Tom Abbott with the Capri, then Yusuf Osman's BMW, and then Eddie O'Kane. But I think the conditions may have caught out Martin Ellis, the man who qualified fastest in the Talbot. He's currently running down towards the bottom of the timing screen. We've not really seen the Talbot, it's almost disappeared fairly early on. As the leader heads round towards Church Corner, and should be to start his final lap this time. The leader on the road, that is. Tony Paxman still shown as the handicap leader, the Mark 1 Escort. But on scratch it is definitely Brian Branson dominating this race. Past Tom Abbott's Capri, he races in the Burton Power Blue Oval Saloon Series for everything Ford. Piers Grange won that title for I think the 3rd year running, if memory serves me right, this year with his very modified Mark II Escort, but he's not here this weekend. 35 seconds on the clock as Brian Branson goes over the line, so this will be the final lap. Yes, the last lap board is out from the marshals there. There's the Lotus Cortina. Tony Palmer led on handicap early on. Once everybody's taken the checkered flag, we will be able to tell you who has taken the handicap victory. There go Harding, Griffin and Robinson, still fairly close together. As the leader on scratch comes out of the complex, past Trevor Kiffin's Alfa Romeo. No, that's Anton Martin, apologies, in the Escort. Leader being held up slightly by Bob Bullen here in the Lotus Cortina. Trevor Kiffin goes through. So the checkered flag is out at the finish line because the timing has gone to 0. Checkered flag in a handicap race goes out as soon as the time goes to 0. So the winner on scratch is going to be Brian Branson. He's coming up Woodham Hill now, we see him there. But it's when everybody's crossed the line that we will find out who has won on handicap. It's showing, as we say, Tony Paxman at the moment on top in the Mark 1 Escorts. But the leader on scratch just coming through towards the finish line now. An unusual format these days in British club racing, handicap racing. Normally most often seen in vintage car racing from the Vintage Sports Car Club. They're the most common that run them. Now Brian Branson over the line, and he does go to the top on handicap, so I think he's done enough. Yeah, he's gone to the top of the times there by quite a clear margin as well. 14 laps completed, and it's showing us 28 seconds ahead of Tony Paxman. So I think Brian Branson has won on scratch and on handicap. Well done to him. Last couple of cars just making it home. Yep, they're all in now. So Brian Branson confirmed as your winner both on scratch and on handicap as well. Quite an achievement for the BMW man. Second on handicap goes to Tony Paxman in the Mark 1 Escort. Third is Tom Abbott in the Capri. Eddie O'Kane is fourth on handicap in the Hyundai Coupe. Fifth, Malcolm Harding. He was second on the road in car number 101. Sixth on handicap number 44, Stuart Kay with the Capri. Seventh, number 4 of Tom Robinson in the Jaguar. Eighth, number 34, David Griffin. So Tom Robinson able to overcome Dave Griffin there. Ninth was Mike Luck, number 78. We see him there. And rounding out the top 10, number 41 of Richard Ibrahim with his BMW. 11th on handicap, Alan Hersey's Reliant Scimitar. 12th was Anton Martin in the Escorts. 13th, Alex Thistlethwaite's Ford Mustang. 14th, number 75, which is Trevor Kiffin's Alfa Romeo. 15th, Tony Palmer, who was on top on handicap early on. 16th, Yusuf Osman's BMW E30. 17th was Bob Bullen. And 18th, the car that started on pole, Martin Ellis in the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Rod Burley and Ian Knight failing to finish. So a rare sight there, a handicap race here at Thruxton. And we'll hopefully hear shortly from our winner on handicap and on scratch, Brian Branson, the man from Norwich. Doing enough to overhaul Tony Paxman's lead on handicap there. John says on Twitter, great to see the Zack Speed Escort. Yes, you can see that if you go to Mallory Park tomorrow. Malcolm Harding's out with the special saloons at Mallory Park tomorrow. Okay, so hopefully shortly we will hear from our race winner. And next up it will be the Monoposto Tiedemann Trophy. I'll have the grid for that one for you fairly shortly. I think we can now, in a moment, go down to the paddock. And we will hear from our race winner, Brian Branson, with Steve Jameson in the paddock.
Well, down here at Park Ferme with our race winner, Brian, that was some ride out there in tricky conditions. How do you feel to get over the line and take first place?
That was absolutely awesome. It's the best race I've done all year. The car felt planted. There was no drifting. There was just no nothing. It was just so consistent. All I want to do say is a big thanks, the most thanks ever in the world today to KMR Motorsport, which is a guy over there, Kai, West Suffolk Racing as well, which are here somewhere, who've also prepped the car. I just want to thanks ever so much to everyone. We've had a bit of a chaotic year in the Kumo Championship. Lots of damages, as you can clearly see. We just thought we'd come out for a weekend, you know, to try and finish the season on a lighter note. And yeah, just thanks ever so much.
Did you expect it to be possible in conditions like this to have a drive as good as you did?
Not, to be honest with you, no, I didn't. I didn't, to be honest with you. No, that was. That started off quite tricky because I stalled it on the grid. So I had to make my way through the pack on the first couple of laps, but yeah, once I got my feel into it, I was away.
Right, look, it's been a fantastic race for you. Still plenty to come this afternoon.
Yeah, we're here tomorrow as well. We're here tomorrow as well.
And planning on more first places, I imagine.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. I can't guarantee that.
Well, driving like that will get you pretty close, mate. Congratulations Hopefully. On the big win.
Thanks ever so much.
Dave, it's back to you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Steve. Well done to Brian Branson. We'll try and give you the results of that one when we can. Yes, Brian Branson taking the win on handicap, 14 laps completed, finishing ahead of Tony Paxman, second on handicap in the Mark 1 Escort. Tom Abbott's Capri was third, ahead of Eddie O'Kane in the Hyundai. Then it was Malcolm Harding and Stuart Kay, fifth and sixth in their Fords. The big jag of Tom Robinson, seventh, ahead of David Griffin, Mike Luck and Richard Ibrahim completing the top 10 in their BMWs. Next up, it's the Monoposto Tiedemann Trophy, the first of two races for the single-seaters for them today, and we've got some interviews with a couple of the drivers.